It is a real problem. It's something that can make or break a project, and make or break a small company, could put them under.
Would it make or break this company that's building these houses?
If I've got anything to do with it, it won't, but quite possibly it could, yes.
It may look all right to you, but what was once the envy of Victorian gardeners has now turned into a monster and even threatens the London Olympics. Japanese knotweed was introduced to Europe in the mid-18th century by a Bavarian doctor, Philipp Franz Balthasar von Siebold. He was stationed in Japan and smuggled 2 shipments of Asian plants to his nursery in Holland. The reason? Money.
Did you know it's been described as the biggest female on Earth because it's unable to reproduce by seed, and it relies solely on the movement of small fragments of rhizome to actually get it to the new place, so it's amazing it's spread as it has. It does set seed in Japan because it has a male host, but von Siebold, the chap who brought it in, only brought in female plants, so it never had a pollen partner.
If you cut it down in the springtime when it's growing, it'll be back within a week. It grows so fast.
So you're never going to be able to fish
Never
that
be
bank?
able to fish this bit of bank, no. I keep it clear as much as I can, but it's an ongoing job. It's impossible the way this stuff grows, and it's creeping out another 9–10 feet every year. I've got to burn it now while it's dry.
Do you know, it was first spotted rampant in the wild at Langley in Middlesex, only a couple of miles from here, in 1902.
Eccentric Victorian gardeners took a liking to Sally Rhubarb, as she's affectionately known, because the combination of big heart-shaped leaves and delicate flowers appealed to their austere tastes. Now it's a nightmare for the developers. I've come to Colnbrook, not far from Dougal's Lake, where plans to convert the old vicarage into luxury apartments have been sabotaged by the dreaded weed.
It's something that can make or break a project, and make or break a small company, could put them under.
Would it make or break this company that's building these houses?
If I've got anything to do with it, it won't, but quite possibly it could, yes.
But she was a big girl who was considered to be quite a glamour puss, wasn't she, when she was first introduced all those years ago?
Absolutely, a great exotic newcomer, fantastic award-winning plant, able to grow in London in the smog, reliable, flowery, showy. They grew it to cover privy houses, to hide privy houses as rapid cover.
Of attacking knotweed, one primitive, the other extremely scientific. Imagine the dismay when property developers in Middlesex found Japanese knotweed forcing its way up through the concrete footing like a triffid.
I think the only thing we can do about it really is to dig the whole lot up, and we're even talking about laying a membrane a certain depth underground and getting all the contaminated waste out and trying to cover it with something. That's the only thing we can do, really.
That's going to cost something, isn't it?
I think it's going to cost an arm and a leg.
What on earth made anyone want to build on this site anyway?
It's the question I ask myself every day when I look at the knotweed.
There's a patch of it in the old vicarage garden measuring 10 square metres. It'll cost £25,000 to dig out. Private consultants are dealing with it. So are you responsible for this big hole, Paul?
Yes, what we've done here, this site is soon to be developed. As you can see, it's covered in knotweed. And what we've done, we've dug this trench as a trial trench to see how deep the root system goes, to give us an idea about how much we're going to have to excavate. We've applied a strong weed killer in the last 4 weeks, and you can see that it's devastated the area, although there are some green shoots popping up. That's because the problem with knotweed, it has this very deep and extensive root system, sometimes 3 metres deep, 7 metres in radius from the last observable shoots. That's a lot of material underground for you to apply herbicide to the surface leaves and get that down into the root.
And do you ever get it to the roots?
Eventually, I mean,
You mean no, you don't?
Certainly not in one hit.
This has serious implications for the London Olympics. The Lee Valley is infested with knotweed, and building is supposed to start in 2008. It takes 3 years to spray kill the plant, or it'll cost millions to excavate. Then you've got to find somewhere to dump it. Knotweed's about as popular as plutonium. In the meantime, Dougal's relief at having torched the stuff in January proved to be short-lived. By May, it was breaking through the Earth's crust again like a hydra. Far from being a deterrent, fire was a come-on.
And since then we've had the bulldozers in and everything, built a new road through, and it's still growing through it all.
I think you'll have to build an extension of the M25. You might just flatten it.
I think if there's the slightest little bit of root left, it will grow. Look at the shoots coming up everywhere. It's like a newly sown forest coming up.
Looks like asparagus, doesn't it?
It does look like asparagus. They say you can eat it. You can see why with shoots like that, but I don't know what I'm going to do to stop it growing.
That thought has preoccupied Dick Shaw for 13 years. He's in charge of government research into the use of Japanese bugs to control a Japanese weed.
There's 150 species of insect on knotweed, and only 1 or 2 of them will be evolved to only attack knotweed. And we test that by looking at closely related species amongst others. And here we've got a couple of examples. Rhubarb, surprisingly, is actually very closely related to Japanese knotweed, as is Russian vine, a classic contrast of a very good plant and what some people would consider a pretty bad plant as a weed. What we have in here is our version of Japan. We have all the insects, well, some of the insects that we've collected living under Japanese conditions, same temperature and same light regime as they would experience in the summer in Kyushu Island.
Okay. So which is the favourite so far, in your view, the one that's going to zap the knotweed?
The favourite in the running at the moment is this psyllid, which is in this cage here. I won't open the door because they're quite small. And you can see them at the back there. The adults are on the leaves, and the little eggs are actually injected on the surface of the leaf as well. Now, this is what the psyllid can do. The plant just dies from having the sap sucked out of it, basically, and the adults and the nymphs all suck the sap.
Well, the biggest problem with biological control is that you've got to be pretty damn sure that the organism you introduce isn't another Japanese knotweed. There's lots of examples of failed biological control programs. One that people are familiar with in Australia is the cane toad, which was introduced to control a weevil that ate sugarcane. It turned out that the cane toad ate everything except the weevil, and now it's a big problem.
And that's one of the challenges confronting Dick and his team. What if the foreign bugs eradicate knotweed and move on? What do we have to introduce to keep them under control?
Our